Hello, friends, and welcome to the CUInsight Network. My name is Robbie Young. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Growth here at CUInsight, and it's my job on this show to have conversations with thought leaders who support the credit union community. Today, we'll identify some issues affecting credit unions and discuss best practices that help us all learn from one another and strengthen the future for our credit unions. My guest on today's show is Shanthi Shanmugam, CEO and co-founder of Casap. Shanthi, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Robbie. I'm pumped.
I know I'm maybe unofficial fangirl. I don't know how to become official, but I'll have to talk to Kristen at Circle and we'll figure it out.
I love it.
So most of us didn't grow up thinking that we'd get to work with credit unions. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I mean, we all want to be a lot of things when we grow up, but I think the longest dream career for me was to actually just travel the world through dance. Like, I just wanted to have some job that would let me go to each country and learn their dance form and just have a blast. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because if anyone saw your dance moves at the Ultra P event during GAC, they would know and understand why this is such a reality for you.
Honestly, that event was awesome. When I went to my first GAC, I felt so seen when I was at the Ultra B Bollywood party that I had to just message Ashish and be like, how do I sponsor this with you next year? So like, it was such a beautiful full circle moment to actually just teach Bollywood moves to the entire credit union community. It was so fun. Loved it.
I love that. And pop culture wise, Bollywood dance and those moves are really trending right now.
I know. Thank you.
And I'm here for it. I don't know a word anyone's saying, and I don't think I can do the dance, but I love it.
Do you remember in Ratatouille where Remy says, everyone can cook? I am very much everyone can dance. So yeah, next time we'll spend some more time on the moves, Robbie, and you'll be a natural.
Oh, I'm in. Just sign me up right up. So can you tell me the journey to get to your current role as CEO and co-founder of Casap?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I mean, I think most journeys are like 2020 in hindsight, but like a little confusing when you like kind of look at it going forward. But I just feel so blessed that I am where I am today. So my journey, I grew up in the Bay Area, surrounded by some of the most pivotal technological innovations that have ever come to be. And my parents are both immigrants from India that focused on tech as like the next big thing. And they focused on the right things. So I was surrounded by all of that growing up. And I was lucky enough to get to go to UC Berkeley for electrical engineering and computer science. I pretty much asked myself what would be the hardest major that could help me really make an impact in this world. And, I chose computer science. But really quickly, I realized that while I could probably figure out anything I put my mind to, including how to code, I found it so much more interesting to figure out what should be built instead of just how to build it. And when you think about, well, what should we build? It's anchored a lot in what matters to us as people. And I actually helped design a design minor at Berkeley. I used to teach a class on design thinking that's all about how do you truly understand what people need. And I loved it. And I kind of stumbled into the career of product, which if anyone asks me how I describe being a product manager, I say it in one line, which is you just help get the right thing built. And what that means at every company is a little different, but I got to join Facebook right out of college in this rotational product management program where they teach you how to be a product manager in the real world. And I think the best thing to come out of that, I would say, was my co-founder, Stacey. So I didn't know it then, but 10 years later, we'd be here writing pretty much side by side as we build what I hope to be an amazingly positive and high impact company. So I was at Facebook, and honestly, I left within 9 months because I just felt like my job was literally trying to figure out how to get more people to use Facebook. How do you get women in emerging markets to use Facebook? How do you get people that had decided to leave Facebook to come back? And you send them a text about their neighbor that commented on a post. Like, it just did not feel meaningful to me. I felt like these people that decided not to use Facebook were probably living their lives, walking around in the sun. Like, those are all good things. So when I kind of sat down and asked myself, well, what kind of impact do I want to have? It was kind of morbid, but I really enjoyed this book that my dad had me read, which was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the first tasks they give you in the book is write your obituary. So I literally, as a 22-year-old, sat down, wrote my obituary, and I thought, hey, I think there's two things that really matter to people, and it's health and wealth. So if I could figure out how to take my expertise in technology, my expertise in user research and designing these fabulous experiences, how do I actually have an impact in one of these two industries? And I just set out to find a company that I felt like was trying to think about it from first principles, and got really lucky that I joined Robinhood when I did. So I was the second product hire at Robinhood. We were less than 100 people. And over 6 years, I had built such beautiful experiences, learned from such talented people, and started, I would say, in the back of my mind, thinking about essentially how we could help build great financial experiences without incurring a lot of losses. Because that I started seeing that was such like, this is kind of like this hidden trade-off that you always had to deal with when designing in fintech, which is you can either create a very seamless experience, but see fraud losses up the wazoo, or if you try to control the fraud losses, usually means putting friction in place for everyone. So that's when I started thinking, I wish there was a better way to do it. And, post GameStop, I pretty much scaled 24/7 phone and chat support for 25 million members. And I just saw how time and time again, there was a few moments that matter where it almost guaranteed someone would leave us as their financial institution. And my co-founder saw that at Chime as well. And then honestly, the beautiful moment was when ChatGPT came out in November 2022. And I thought, wow, this can be different. So that's what inspired me to start Casap. And on the role of me as CEO and co-founder, I often say the E in CEO stands for evangelize. And I'm so passionate about creating a world where fraud is rare and trust between a member and their credit union is a given, that I just feel like I just naturally love evangelizing it to potential employees, to potential customers, to potential partners, potential investors. And I just feel like it was the role I was meant to be. So yeah, that was my journey to becoming CEO and co-founder of Casap.
I love that. And one of the things, I've had the privilege to know you for a little while now. And one of the things I always talk to people about when Casap and you all come up in conversation is the mission-driven passion that you already had coming into the credit union space. So there's never a time when I hear your story and your why that it doesn't absolutely click to me as to why you are all involved in credit unions. So can you tell us a little bit more about Casap? Where and how do you all add value to credit unions? And I think this might be the perfect question to talk about the proverbial Casap Christmas that I've heard about.
I love that. What a deep cut. I love that. So when we think about what we're truly wanting to be, we want to be the credit union's partner into the future, the partner into this future where we have AI agents and our teams going hand in hand, creating amazing member experiences, having our members' backs whenever we can without losing the shirts on our back to fraud. That is what we do at Casap. And we very specifically started off with AI agents for disputes. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about disputes, but at a high level, credit unions that have partnered with us have pretty much been able to see value on three aspects. Number one, and this is exactly why I love the credit union movement, because this number one matters a lot, it's member trust, it's member sentiment. More often than not, disputes is the number one reason why a member would leave a credit union and the number one detractor to the member sentiment score. And our credit unions have seen a massive positive lift in member NPS, and just members actually saying thank you, sending thank you emails where usually they're yelling in all caps saying, hey, where's my money? What's going on with my case? Why don't you have my back? Why have you ghosted me? So I think that's the number one value that we add for credit unions. Number two is we're able to create that amazing trust building, loyalty building experience with members without losing so much to fraud. So on average, our credit unions have seen a 51% reduction in fraud losses. And I think it particularly helps with credit unions because I think a lot of people know that credit unions wear our hearts on our sleeves. So sometimes people take advantage of that. And our platform helps us make very thoughtful, consistent decisions around, do we think you're telling the truth or not? So that's the second aspect, is a 51% reduction in fraud losses. And then finally, many credit unions do tend to spend a lot of time on disputes across 8 different tools, or they're outsourcing an aspect of it. And, they'll pay a flat fee for someone to maybe take 90 days to maybe lose cases they should be winning. And in this world, we kind of give credit unions those expenses back, and we help them own their own destiny, because at the end of the day, you want to own that moment that matters for your member and do it the best you can.
I love that. And I think it's so important, especially when we know that, some credit unions are strapped for those types of resources, and you're really giving them the opportunity to own that, like you said. So many credit unions still manage disputes manually. Mm-hmm. What are the biggest gaps in today's dispute process? And how is Casap helping credit unions recover revenue they might otherwise lose?
Yeah. So I'd say there's 3 big gaps in the dispute process today. And number one, and hopefully you've seen a trend now that I always like to anchor on the member experience first. So what is a dispute? A dispute is a member saying, hey, I didn't buy this TV at Best Buy, or it's a member saying, hey, I bought this thing. And there's actually a crazy case I saw the other day. Someone had spent $2,000 buying a couch off of a TikTok shop, and it showed up and it fit a Barbie doll, right? That is not what the merchant described. So dispute can be someone saying there's fraud on my account. I didn't do this transaction. Or it could be, I did this transaction, but the merchant, gypped me. They didn't hold up their end of the bargain. In this moment that matters, you want the member to be able to talk to you about it, however is most convenient to them, right? So many credit unions usually require their members to walk into a branch or to call a call center. And that too, if it's calling a call center, sometimes it's not available 24/7. You got to wait till Monday. We enable credit unions to put that right in the app. And not only do we enable them to give members many different ways to talk to them about disputes, but we'll also give members a Domino's-style pizza tracker that'll always tell them what's going on, because transparency is so closely related to building trust. So that's number one in terms of big gap, is how are members able to talk to credit unions about this problem. Number 2 is, okay, now the credit union has this dispute from a member. Why does it take 90 days on average to resolve it? Well, it takes 90 days because you've got at least 2 handoffs going within your team, from the front line to the back office, and even between teams in the back office. The information you need to make a decision on this dispute is on average split across 7 different systems. And then when you need to take actions on it, like send the required emails, because there's a lot of regulations around disputes, when it's sometimes sending physical letters, sometimes it's replacing the card, sometimes it's filing a process manually to handle the chargeback. It is so split. And I always say the back office experience is the member experience. If the credit union's team needs to be across 7 different tools, 3 different teams, just to figure out what to do on each case, how are we supposed to have our members' backs? How are we supposed to figure out who is a member that's stuck between a rock and a hard place and just really needs that credit ASAP versus a member that's maybe taking advantage of the situation? There's no possibility of doing that. And that brings me to the final aspect of a gap, which is when credit unions outsource this aspect, not only is it a bad member experience, but there isn't really skin in the game for the person they're outsourcing it to really figure out, is this fraud? Is this not fraud? And how do we make sure that we're telling the difference? So the third aspect of value and the biggest gap is, right now, if a credit union has some way of managing this process, it is doing just that. It's just managing it. It's just to make sure they're hitting timelines. And if they can't hit timelines, they're increasing a write-off threshold where they say, hey, we can't hire enough people. We can't manage this volume. So, that write-off threshold where we write off any dispute less than $20, we're going to make that 50, or we're going to make that 80, or we're going to make that 100. And that just makes it easier for people to get free money. And it's almost like a victim is crime, because they don't see us as victims, and then they'll keep coming in with more disputes. So the last gap that I really wanted to talk about is really giving credit unions visibility and insights into which members are in a sticky situation that are being honest and need that help ASAP versus a member that's taking advantage of things, and really helping us make different decisions across both.
That's awesome and so important. And that anchor point of member trust and engagement really leans into my next question. As you really described disputes as a trust moment for members, can you expand on what that means from the member experience and retention side?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and this might be a tough pill to swallow for some credit unions listening, but I do think it's really important to reflect on this, which is that members have choices. Members, they could choose to treat you, their credit union, as a primary financial institution, or they could work with another bank or a fintech, or they could work with all three, but there's only one card that's going to be top of wallet for them. In a world of choice, there's only one way to differentiate, which is value and trust, like really building trust. And the reason why disputes really shows up as a moment for member growth and member retention is a dispute is literally someone saying something's gone wrong and they're freaking out. And that is a moment. You don't often get that many shots on goal. You don't have that many opportunities to show a member that they can trust you more than anyone else. But when I think about what credit unions are about, it's about a relationship. There's often a reason why a lot of members are part of a credit union, right? Whether it's the segmentation, the charter, or even for nationally or federally chartered credit unions, there's usually a community and relationship aspect that matters. So when a member's coming to you saying, "Hey, I'm really freaking out, something's gone wrong," this is that opportunity to show them you have their back. And we've seen it. If a bad dispute experience was one of the biggest reasons why someone would leave Chime as their primary bank. And that's where my co-founder spent his time automating disputes. And that's why they focused on it. Yes, save them a lot of money to bring that in-house. Yes, save them a lot of losses. But the big reason why Chime focused on disputes is because it built trust for life. And you see it in your NPS. You see it in any app reviews. It's a big reason why people would choose not to work with you. And it's absolutely usually the biggest reason why someone chooses to go from working with you to not. So that's why I think it's a big trust moment. It's an opportunity to show them you have their back.
I love that. And credit unions are such an industry built on members really trusting their credit unions to keep their best selves in mind. So agentic AI is still a relatively new concept for many. How does it differ from traditional AI tools, and how does Casap apply it in a way that balances automation with human judgment, especially for more complex and sensitive dispute cases?
This is such a good question, Robbie, and I'm so excited to talk about it because agentic AI, it is incredibly different than what's happened before. So in my entire years as a technologist, I've always been familiar with traditional AI, machine learning. It was helpful. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely helpful. We use aspects of it in Casap today. But what agentic AI unlocks is the closest thing we've seen to technology reasoning. And the reason why this distinction matters so much is when you think about an exception, when something's gone wrong, a member tells you something's gone wrong, or a system tells you something's gone wrong, that's where a credit union is spending a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of money. And now with agentic AI, the mental model we have at Casap is it's not how do we replace our team? It's not how do we do what the team is doing, but automatically. RPA was doing that before, which stands for robotic process automation. You could do that before. You don't need agentic AI for that. What agentic AI enables us to do is ask, what would the best investigator do if they had all the time and all the data in the world to just think about this one member's problem? So from that perspective, our AI agents are able to say, hey, based on looking at all of these signals across these 7 different systems, we have a really good sense that Robbie is telling the truth and that we need to give her money back immediately and file that chargeback with the merchant. And now AI agents can not just look at that data and reason, but it can also do. But mainly in those clear-cut situations. So right now, if you look at a credit union's team, or even if they're outsourcing disputes, there is a person that needs to touch each case at least like 7 times across the duration, that 90-day duration of how long a dispute can be. With AI agents, you don't need to touch every case, but the cases you touch, you get to focus deeply on them because they're in the gray area, and you get to focus on the sensitive ones, the tough ones, the complicated ones. You really get to elevate the impact that a human can have in this process from the perspective of both empathy and accuracy. That is the potential of agentic AI, and why I'm so thrilled to be the agentic AI partner for the credit unions that work with us.
I love that because it really goes back to building that trust in that, members want these disputes to move quickly and the credit unions want it to move quickly. But also if it really needs that human hand-holding, you guys are allowing for the space to be able to do that accurately and focused so that people really walk away feeling seen and heard from, something that could be detrimental to their life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I know that you stay very busy. Mm-hmm. So as we look at in that proverbial crystal ball, what's Casap's focus on the road ahead?
Yeah. I do think about this a lot. That is very much my role as a CEO I always live in these two worlds of what is today's reality and what is the reality that we want to create and how can we bridge that gap? How can we get there? And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this recently and our focus. So Casap literally stands for Get Your Case Done ASAP. All right. It's not Dispute App, it's Casap. We picked Dispute AI agents as our very first offering for the market because we saw what a burning need it was, and it was just getting harder to handle, not easier. Now, our credit union clients are so thrilled with the outcome of agentic AI in their disputes process with happier members, happier team members. Happy team means happy member, and lower losses, lower costs. They are asking us to be their agentic partner for everything in the back office. So when I think about what we're building with Casap, I'm thinking about how the average credit union has, 25 plus systems that they need to operate across to make any decision and to have members' backs and just operate the credit union. How can we be an agentic operating system that's a layer on top of all of those systems? How can we be a very easy way for credit unions to bring AI agents into different aspects, whatever's most important for each credit union in that given year or in that given month? That's the future I'm really excited about because it's going to enable that vision I mentioned before, right? Our mission statement at Casap is to build a future where trust is a given and fraud is rare. And the only way to do that is for AI agents and our teams to work hand in hand. And we will be that partner.
I love that so much. So as we wrap up the show, we like to have some fun with some rapid fire questions to let our listeners get to know you a bit better. Now, the questions are rapid, but your answers certainly don't have to be. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So who is someone in your life who is a great leader and what makes them great?
Okay, this is a little bit of a sappy answer, and it's because I was just writing a note to my mom for Mother's Day. But I do believe that someone in my life that's a great leader is my mother. And what makes her great is a few things. One is how she's able to so deeply be empathetic while making sure I grew up to be an independent woman. And no matter how much I wanted her to help me solve problems growing up, she kind of forced me to figure it out on my own. And then the other thing is she's actually pretty good at delegating. But honestly, what I mean by that is I think it's a sign of a great leader when you can be very clear on what greatness looks like, what success looks like, but you can also be very selective with what really, I guess the best way to think about this is protecting your peace. She's really good at having a high bar while protecting her peace. And I look to that a lot as I continue to scale my company.
And shout out to her for that, because as a mother, I understand how conflicting being good at that can be sometimes. So I know this will come out a bit after Mother's Day, but from a couple mothers to some others. Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
So if you're going to splurge on something and you want to treat yourself a little bit, what's one thing that you might invest in?
So this is a recent treat of mine. That's a custom suits.
Your suits are always fire, so I am here for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I have an olive one, a plum one, and a navy blue one in the Casap color, but I don't think I'm done. So yeah.
The plum one is a favorite of mine. I will say that I've seen it in person, and it is a good look. So I approve this splurge.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you.
So if you're going to travel for work, which we know you do a lot of, which city are you most excited to visit, whether it's for a conference or a client visit?
That is a good question. It's so funny. I travel so much now that I sometimes I don't even really notice where I am. I just show up and I'm just there. But recently I was in a conference, actually by recently, I mean 2 days ago, I was in a conference for fraud and risk practitioners in Colorado Springs. And a friend of mine actually started this conference, and it was lovely. It was 650 people at the Broadmoor, which is, I think it's the world's longest, maybe world or the US's longest running 5-star resort. And, when he first told me he was doing this conference there, I was like, I mean, it's not in Vegas. I'm pretty down. Vegas is a little hard these days. But it just felt so refreshing to actually learn and build relationships with the nice view, for a change. It was lovely. So, yeah.
Colorado. I love that. I have not been to the Broadmoor yet, but I heard good things about it. And I've never been to Colorado yet either, so maybe it's something that I have to do.
Yeah, for next year.
So what's a book that you think everyone should read?
I actually mentioned it already, but the classic 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
I was wondering if you would mention that again.
Yes.
It sounded pretty impactful. We'll make sure to link to it in the show notes just in case and somebody hasn't heard it. We'll link to it there, but what is your best hack for creating balance and integration between your work life and your life? And the answer of we're all just surviving is totally acceptable too.
Yeah, that might be my answer. I'm so blessed, but Casap, it evolves every couple of months. We're growing so quickly. Our partners are having such great experiences, which leads to more people hearing about us. And, I actually scaled the team from, I think we were 25 people 6 months ago, and now we're 60 people today. So all of that, it just requires different things in my work life, which also obviously has an impact on my life. So I think a hack is actually just checking in with my partner, my husband. And we do this monthly check-in, which it kind of anchors on, I'll be posting about this, I think, in the next few weeks, but it kind of anchors on, well, how are we feeling across the pillars of our life? And we've agreed that there's kind of a baseline that we need to meet across health and relationships and work and raising our 2-year-old. And we kind of ask ourselves, okay, are we meeting that baseline? And then what does amazing look like? And which one or two, we can only pick one or two of these pillars, are we actually dedicating a lot of time and energy to focus on in this next month? And I mean, in a world where you have kids, you can't really have a completely different objective function or success criteria from your partner. You kind of have to be very much on the same page. That kind of monthly check-in really helps us, I guess, think on our feet and be a little quick, given how quickly everything from our daughter to our companies change.
With the both of you being entrepreneurs, I can't imagine how quickly things happen in life. So that's such a good like anchor point to sit down. And I mean, it kind of allows for you to look at your life as a business too, because it matters just as much to keep everything moving that way.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I used to think like money was our biggest constraint or the biggest thing to optimize for. But in this phase, it's really our time and maybe second, our energy. So really being thoughtful with where that goes. And honestly, I've said no a lot more than I've said yes. I've never been that person. But, when you have such big goals and a few things that really matter to you, it actually is surprisingly easy to say no.
I love it and completely respect that no is a full sentence.
No is a full. I love that. That's a great.
My daughters now say that back to me. So,
oh, no.
So like I mentioned, we'll be sure to link to everything we talked about today in the show notes. But my last question for you is, do you have any final thoughts or something you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah. Number one is deep gratitude for the credit union community. It's been amazing to find a community of really talented and kind individuals that are really just trying to have members' backs and trying to just run a good business as well. And I just deep gratitude for the community. And then second, I'd say is I really do mean it. I want us, Casap, to be the premier partner as credit unions navigate this new world with agentic AI. And if any listeners have ideas, thoughts, questions, or just want to catch up at the next time you're going to a conference, I'm all ears. So I don't know if you're sharing my contact information, Robbie, but it's Shanthi at casaphq.com. Shoot me an email and I'm always here to listen. So thank you.
Yes. And as a genuine fangirl, if you see me out and about in the world and you want me to get you in touch with Shanthi, I will.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Shanthi, for being on the show. For episodes like this one and more from across the credit union movement, visit CUInsight.com to read, explore, and subscribe. Stay well, and thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in today. We'll be back again next time.